Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Danny Garcia said, you know what, enough of me killing myself to get to 147. I am good with being a two-weight division world champion. For those who didn't know, Danny Garcia cleaned up when he was at 140, bubbled up to 147. Did pretty good there. Picked up a little strap, WBC strap. Lost it when he fought Keith Thurman. Went on, fought Sean Porter, lost that fight, and then lost to Earl Spence. So Danny Garcia is one of the elite fighters at 147, but he is now going up to try the 154-pound weight division, and he's looking to get in there and mix it up with Jose Benavidez Jr. Fight's going to take place on July 30th in Brooklyn, New York. Now, for those of you who think the last name Benavidez sounds familiar, that's because Jose Benavidez Jr. is a brother of David Benavidez, who is, what is it, the Mexican monster, as Mike Tyson calls him. Jose Benavidez Jr. is a very sound opponent. He's a very good boxer. Some would say that his better days are behind him because he was shot in the leg, and ever since then, he just hasn't really looked that good in the boxing ring. If you didn't see the fight between Jose Benavidez Jr. and Terrence Crawford, go watch the fight. He had excellent moments in that fight, but then he just started having a lot of problems with his leg. I mean, and that's not the reason why Terrence Crawford won the fight. But it didn't hurt Terrence Crawford that Benavidez Jr.'s leg was giving him some issues. And when I was watching that fight, I was thinking to myself, if Benavidez Jr. had two healthy legs, had never been shot, nobody would beat him. Like that. That's how amazing he looked. But after that fight, it was just one of those things, man. They fought on October 13th in 2018, and then he disappeared, came back in the ring. November 2021. So you're talking about almost, a close to 4-year layoff, man. And he just didn't look the same, man. He got in there with a guy named Francisco Emmanuel Torres, and they fought in Phoenix, and this is supposed to be like his coming out fight, fighting at home, expected to get the big win, and he was losing that fight. He really was. But he got the gift decision, in my opinion. So fast forward, and now we're here. Danny Garcia, he's been off for about 19 months, taking it easy ever since he lost to, Earl Spence Jr. And before he fought Earl Spence Jr., Danny Garcia was still out there. Some people say he was cherry picking, but I don't know. He fought Ivan Redcatch, he fought Adrian Granados, and there was Sean Porter. Before Sean Porter, he clipped Brandon Rios. Then there was Keith Thurman. So these are well-known names. But Danny Garcia, I think what's hurt him in fights against the elite fighters, because he's an elite fighter too. He's just not a guy that throws combinations. He's a guy you would call, he's a slugger. He can box, he can counterpunch, but he's a slugger. He'll throw two shots. One is the shot to set you up with, which is not super hard, but then he comes back with one of those death blows. And we all know about the no-look hook that he throws. If he hits you with that hook, you're out of there. As Adrian Granados found out, Ivan Redcatch found out, Brandon Rios found out. There's something in the hands of Danny Garcia. If he touches you, he hurts you. So for him moving up to 154, now this is why, and I can understand this, right? When I had a fight at 160 pounds, and I had cut down from like 205. It wasn't hard for me to get down to 160 because, I was dieting and jogging. I used to lift a lot of weights, kind of cut all that out, and just do a lot of training, dieting and exercise. And I got on the scale when I was 160. And I was like, wow. And I think I said this in another video. I remember the coach was like, yeah, we can get you down to 154 or 147 pounds. I remember looking at that guy like he was crazy. How the hell am I going to get down to 147 pounds? But at the same time, I was shocked that I got to 160. But as soon as I went, drank some water, ate something light, man, like 12, 14 pounds came back on. It was amazing. But I say that because what impresses me about these professional fighters is there's no way in the world they were supposed to be fighting at no damn 140. How the hell you fight for so long at 140, then you go up to 147, talking about, oh, you feel more comfortable. Now you're saying you're tired of killing yourself to make 147. Now you're going to 154. It's a 14-pound difference. But these guys they train, diet, and have the kind of discipline just for a weigh-in, just for a split second in time to hit that magic number on their weight. Then after that, it is what it is. That's where they come in the ring. Some guys 20 pounds heavier, 18, 25 pounds heavier on fight night because they go on, they hydrate up, and they eat. And their weight is just amazing how it skyrockets. So they balloon up. When they get in the ring, they outweigh their opponent and gives them advantages. But for me, it's just amazing to see a guy who did what he did at 140 pounds, performed well at 147, but to come down at 154. So that tells me that even at the weights that most of these guys are fighting at, that's not their natural weight. They're killing themselves, and that's not healthy. And you're looking at Virgil Ortiz as a comeback fight. He's a good example of when it goes wrong. You know, and he's still trying to come back and campaign at 147. Like at some point, you got to just say, hold your horses. Let's not take this to the stupid anymore. It's not worth having your internal organs fail. It's not worth dying. But I get it. You want to give yourself an advantage. And that's why these guys who should be fighting really probably 160 pounds, 168, they cut all the way down. And you may say, nah, man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, rocket scientist, Sean Porter. What was he fighting at in the amateurs? Okay. What was he fighting, like 168 or something? I could Google it. But I know he wasn't fighting no damn 147. Shit, Sean Porter may have been fighting at a heavyweight. But he was fighting at some weight, 160 or 168. And he was winning as an amateur. The man clipped Usyk. He clipped somebody else too. He was clipping heavyweights. But they were all fighting in the same weight class at the time. But Sean Porter and his dad decided to melt down to 147 pounds. And you look at him, and if you didn't know he fought at 160 or 168 as an amateur, whatever weight it was, it's mind-blowing that he was able to campaign at 147 for so long. And to see him in retirement, he still looks the same. He didn't, blow back up. He didn't go out there and Prince Nassim himself. But that's a whole nother level of rehydration. That man rehydrated on pig grease. But anyway, what I'm saying is when it just comes to these guys and Sean Porter and the weight that they should really be at, which is really a healthy weight, they'll compromise that just to get down for that moment in time to hit that magic number on the scale. And then they go in with the weight advantage. But with Danny Garcia being a two weight division champion, and the fact that he hasn't been off so long, he hasn't had any real injuries, and David Benavidez coming back and being off for 4 years and having that comeback fight and not looking a tenth of himself, I don't see how anyone can give David Benavidez a real chance in this fight. Now, he can try to keep the fight long. He can try whatever the hell he wants. Maybe he'll look different because he recently fought, in November. But I just don't see him having what it takes to do anything to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a special fighter, chin made out of, stone. And he's going to come in there. He's going to be, bigger, stronger. His punch resistance should be even greater. And I think he's going to be able to get to Benavidez. I just think Benavidez he was an amazing talent. It's so unfortunate what happened to him. Getting shot his boxing career is supposed to be over. Then he comes back like a miracle. I am not trying to take the Miracle Man name from Danny Jacobs, but to see what he's doing with the type of damage he had to his leg, it's amazing that this man is able to continue his boxing career. So that shows you just how strong the mind can be. And when the mind and body are in concert with each other, it's just amazing what a human being can do. But all that comes to an end when he gets in there with Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia is about to give him his second loss. And that's my opinion, man, because when you look at who these guys have fought, so we can just go back, say, to 2015 with David Benavidez Jr., Jorge Paez Jr. Know the name because you probably know his dad, right? But Jorge Paez Jr. was making some noise at the time. Then Sidney Sicaria, Francisco Santana, Matthew Strode, Frank Rojas. Probably don't know those names, do you? Then he gets in there with Terrence Crawford. We all know who that is. We know how that ended up. Damn competitive fight up until that last round. Say what you want. That fight was very competitive. He was catching Crawford with some shots. But then his legs started giving out and Crawford started picking it up. And when Crawford turns it up, people are still, they go from first to fifth gear in a fight. Crawford goes from first to like ninth gear. He goes to some shit that, is just impossible for someone to achieve. And that's what happened, man. And he just caught Jose Benavidez Jr. in an exchange, dead him on the spot. And then after that, Jose Benavidez Jr. took a lot of time off, man, and came back and fought a fight which most people feels he lost. But when you look at the matchup, Danny Garcia is a guy, he'll throw a couple jabs, but he's not throwing the kind of jab with really any purpose. And it's not really a volume jab. It's more just to keep you busy. And he will come with the right hand. He'll loop the right hand. And then he'll come back with that big left hook. Sometimes he'll slip your punch. He'll counter you. You throw, he'll dip, and then throw that left hook. So where it's looking like he's blindly throwing it, in boxing, if you're in front of me, if I take my eyes off you and I look down at the ground, if I can see your feet, I know where the hell your head is at. I know where your body's at. So if I look down and I see your 2 feet here and I come here with what they call a blind left hook, I know I'm going to connect with your face. So that's where Danny Garcia gets away with it. That's not a mistake that he's able to land that shot. He lands it in almost every fight. He's done more damage to others, to some than others, but he lands it because he trains that way. That is one of his signature shots. If you come running in on Danny Garcia, he's one of those opponents where, I say it in almost every video, the more you let your hands go, the more you open, Benavidez Jr. is going to get countered and get countered big. I'm telling you, he may get knocked out in this fight. And I'm just going to be real with you. I think he may get knocked out. I just think the inactivity, man. But who knows? He's got the last name Benavidez. He only has one loss for a reason. We saw who he lost to. He's been through hell, man. But maybe he's been in the gym training, and he knows what he's up against with Danny Garcia. This isn't no small guy. This isn't no damn Paulie Malignaggi he's fighting, This is a serious opponent. But I'm just not sure this version of David Benavidez is going to be able to really handle Danny Garcia. I think when Danny Garcia starts timing him, starts closing the distance, starts getting his counters off, I think he's going to frustrate Benavidez Jr. because Benavidez Jr. did not look good in his last fight. But then again, he's gone back to the lab, probably recognized it. I'm sure his dad, who was very straightforward, told him, you dodged the bullet in that one. You dodged the bullet in that fight. You lost that fight. Get back in the gym, no more inactivity. But for him to come back against Danny Garcia, even though he's the naturally bigger fighter in this fight, I just don't see why they would even do that to themselves. I can understand the pick for Danny Garcia, but for Jose Benavidez Jr., why go in there and fight a guy like Garcia, out of all the opponents? But this is one of those fights that they both need to win, and they both need to look good. And then after this, I think the sky's the limit. But we're going to see if Danny Garcia wins. I'm picking him to win. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. I may be wrong, but, it's all good. But I'm picking him to win. But after that, we'll see who he fights because there are a lot of good fights for him at 154, even at 160. And if he feels good at 154, he may bubble up to 160 for a big money fight. Danny Garcia is all about money. His dad and Danny Garcia about money. I remember listening to Andrew Garcia talk in the past about why would these guys come and fight and risk their undefeated records, keep fighting cherries and making money. So if you can fight a cherry picker, especially when Al Heyman first came on the scene and these guys were really starting, their careers were really starting to bubble, these guys are making like $3 to $6 million a fight, man. Like crazy money. And they're still making, good money. So he fought a lot of those fights where he made $3 to $6 million. They stacked up all their money up front. And now he's just out here looking for big paydays. So not sure what he's getting for this. I'll find out. But I think it should be an easy win. But, stylistically, and if you break it down, this is really one of those fights where it's the boxer counterpuncher. And that's what I'm going to consider David Benavidez. He's a boxer and he's a counterpuncher, but he's fighting against more of a slugger / counterpuncher in Garcia. And if Garcia can start chopping him down, body, head, because Garcia will go, right hand to the body, come up strong with the hook to the head, or hook to the body, then come up top with the right hand to the head. He throws combinations, certain combinations to where if you're not able to figure out what he's doing, he will hurt you and hurt you badly, especially when he starts letting that damn left hook fly. But we'll see. That's my 2 cents on him. I'll probably, maybe this weekend I'll sit down and kind of break it down and do the analysis and break down the two fighters' strengths, things that happen, the bad habits they have, the good habits they have, and what I really see being the difference between the two. But for me, I don't think I need to go that much in depth. I think the biggest difference with the two is Benavidez Jr.'s leg is still doesn't look very healthy, and also his inactivity. And I'm not really seeing him going to be able to do much to still a well rested, stronger Danny Garcia with a chin made out of granite. I just don't see this being a good fight or matchup for Jose Benavidez Jr. But leave your comments below and you let me know, man, all right? Y'all take care. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all veterans and just every human being out there, man. Y'all keep safe this week. Looking forward to the fights this weekend, and I'm in the breeze.